Happy Orpho. How you guys doing? Thank you so much for joining me today. So a while ago, I noticed on the map of Australia that it has these gigantic lakes. I noticed this one, Lake Erie or Ire. Regardless, you guys informed me that it's actually dried up most of the time or something, so it's not even like really there. At least not like the map shows it. Yeah, looking at the satellite, it doesn't look like a lake. I don't know what that looks like. I guess a dried up lake. Anyway, so it got me thinking about it. And then I saw this video. Where did Australia's Great Lakes go? So I thought that sounded fascinating. Geography by Geoff. Check him out, link down below. Really cool channel. Let's see.
Are incredibly important. Great Lakes are incredibly important to the planet. From the Great Lakes of North America to Lake Victoria in Africa and Lake Baikal in Asia, these massive water bodies provide crucial fresh water for people, plants, and of course animals. But one continent, Australia, doesn't actually have any Great Lakes, despite appearing to have quite a few on Google Maps. So where did all of Australia's Great Lakes go? But before we can answer that question,
that's exactly what I wanted to know.
We need to first understand why Australia is so dry in the first place.
Okay.
Australia is often imagined as a vast...
Australia is drier than Africa?
Dry land, and this is for a really good reason. It's very large and very dry in most places. Its physical geography is defined by extremes, with large portions of the continent consisting of arid and semi-arid environments. This is especially true for the central and western parts of the country, which is home to the iconic outback, a term used to describe the remote and sparsely populated interior. This region of Australia is harsh, very dry, and really, really big. Precipitation is rare, and venturing out into...
Isn't this part up here quite tropical? Like by Darwin and stuff.
To it unprepared is basically signing your death.
Like you actually get a lot of water and tropical forests. I thought.
All told, the outback consists...
That's what I think. Yeah, like up here, yeah. It's not like this, you know. Anyway. I guess I just have a bit of an issue, potentially, with how they drew just this part. Like, they should have just kept it down here.
Consists of over 5.6 million square kilometers of land, fully 73% of Australia's total land area. Wow. That's an incredibly large, geographically dominant feature. And this dry interior is largely a product of Australia's topography and climate patterns. As the flattest continent overall, Australia lacks the high mountain ranges that elsewhere disrupt weather patterns and create more diverse climates. Because these topographic features don't exist in the same way they do
Although you guys do have some amazing ski slopes.
Other parts of the world, much of Australia's interior doesn't get the process which causes rain, where moist...
Which surprises a lot of people, including myself.
Air from the surrounding oceans is forced upward by coastal mountain ranges, causing it to cool and lose its moisture in the form of precipitation. As a result, very little rainfall makes it to the interior of the continent. The Great Dividing Range, which runs parallel to the East Coast, does create this impact a bit, but due to the westerlies largely moving weather patterns from west to east, those systems don't really come into play until well after the outback. But in truth, the lack of major mountain ranges is a relatively small factor here. It's actually Australia's location relative to global weather systems that causes such a dry environment. You see, much of Australia lies under the influence of the subtropical high-pressure belt. This is a zone of stable, descending air that suppresses cloud formation and rainfall, resulting in dry conditions. This high-pressure belt shifts slightly with the seasons, but remains a dominant feature of Australia's climate. The outback's low rainfall and high evaporation rates make it
I'd never heard of that. That's
difficult for lakes and rivers to sustain themselves. Many of the rivers that do exist in the interior...
There it is, Lake Erie.
Such as those in the Lake Eyre Basin, are ephemeral, flowing only after very rare rain events and quickly drying up in the heat. The outback itself is a vast and varied region, stretching across multiple states and territories and encompassing deserts like the Simpson, Gibson, and Great Victoria deserts. These areas are known for their iconic red soils and sparse vegetation. And while these deserts might seem lifeless, they are home to a range of hardy plants and animal species that have adapted to the extreme conditions. The flora is dominated by tough, drought-resistant
I mean, you can see that there is plenty of plant life.
plants like spinifex
It's kind of weird. Like, it's unbelievable, right?
and saltbush.
How life can just find a way to, just like Jurassic Park, you know, life finds a way.
The fauna includes species such as kangaroos, dingoes, and reptiles that are highly adapted to surviving with minimal water. Australia's dry central regions have also been shaped by geologic factors. Over millions of years, the continent has experienced long periods of weathering and erosion. Without significant tectonic activity to rejuvenate the landscape with mountain building, the interior
So you guys don't have many earthquakes, huh?
has
I know you guys experienced a relatively small earthquake, but substantial, you know, significant enough to feel earthquake recently. I think over in Sydney.
become a vast, low-lying plain. The lack of young, towering mountains means there is little opportunity for snowmelt or glacial runoff to feed lakes and rivers, further contributing to the scarcity of large bodies of water. However,
Makes
the
sense.
aridity of Central Australia has not always been so severe. In the distant past, the region was wetter, and vast lakes once dotted the landscape. Evidence of this can be found in the salt flats and dry lake beds that remain today, such as Lake Eyre and Lake Frome. These are remnants of a time when climate was more conducive to sustaining large lakes. In other words, at one point, Australia had quite a few Great Lakes of its own, but they don't really exist anymore, which has had a profound impact on what Australia looks like today. Lakes are an incredibly important part of our world. Every inhabited continent relies on them to some extent aside from Australia. Because despite Google Maps showing many prominent large lakes in Australia, they don't really exist in the same way. Geography by Jeff is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's spooky season, which means there's no better time to tackle your fears. And I'm not talking about the ones that involve zombies or ghosts, but rather those big life fears that are holding you back. Therapy is a great way to face those fears.
It's funny because it happens to be spooky season again. I typically wait a year or more until a video to react to a video. So yeah, this is about a year old. Anyway, go check out his link to BetterHelp.
Your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/aroundtheworld. The Great Lakes of the world are more than just vast bodies of water. They hold immense significance for every continent and country they are a part of. Across North America, Europe, South America, Asia, and Africa, these lakes have shaped where people live, the kinds of industries that have risen nearby, and the climates of the surrounding regions. Each continent's Great Lakes are vital to its identity and the lives of those who live near them. So much so that it's almost impossible to imagine any of these continents without
I just went to Lake Michigan this summer. It's a fun place to visit. The beaches are interesting. The sand is like super fine.
their respective Great Lakes.
It's almost like mud, but between mud and sand, you know?
North America, of course, is home to perhaps the best-known Great Lakes: Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario. These lakes were...
And I mean, it's a big enough lake that there's actually waves, like not big waves, but, you know, big enough for it to feel like a beach.
created by the retreat of glaciers at the end
At
of
least for someone living in Indiana.
the last
You guys would probably be like, this ain't no fucking beach.
ice age, and today form the largest group of freshwater lakes by area on Earth. They are vital to the economies of both the United States and Canada, supporting
I didn't even realize
shipping, fishing, tourism, and agriculture. They also provide drinking water to over 40 million people. Their importance as a transportation route for goods, especially during the Industrial Revolution, cemented their role in the economic development of the region. They also moderate local climates that surround them, which would otherwise be much more extreme, though they can also bring about the dreaded lake snow effect. And not to be left out, North America, and Canada specifically, is also home to other very large prominent lakes, such as Lake Winnipeg and Lake Winnipegosis, Lake Manitoba, Lake Athabasca, and Reindeer Lake, amongst many others. Over in Asia, the most significant lakes include the Caspian Sea, which is technically a lake, though a salt lake, Lake Baikal, and the Aral Sea, though the latter has seen a dramatic reduction in size due to human activity.
Honestly, guys, this video is super fascinating, and definitely go check it out, link down below. But I'm totally going to skip ahead because I feel like this part's not relevant to, you know, my channel, which is, I want to know about Australia. He's explaining all these other lakes in the different continents and stuff. But I can see this is the part where we talk about Australia.
Australia lacks large, permanent lakes comparable to those found on other
But
continents.
you should absolutely go watch the full video down below.
Lakes such as Lake Eyre, Lake Torrens, and Lake Gardner appear prominent on maps, but they are actually dry salt flats, only filling with water during rare heavy rain events. This leaves Australia without the large, life-sustaining lakes that have been so important to the development and climates of other continents. So where did Australia's Great Lakes go?
Where'd they go?
Australia's landscape today is often characterized by its dryness, vast deserts, and arid plains. But this wasn't always the case. In ancient times, Australia was home to a much wetter climate with expansive lakes scattered across the continent. These lakes
Oh, wow, there were a lot of them.
were part of a dramatically different environment, one that supported a more diverse range of ecosystems than what is seen today. Over millions of years, however, climate change and Australia
You know, I never realized till he flipped it upside down how much Australia upside down looks like a sheep. Like if he turned it another 45 degrees.
is gradual
Or 90 degrees.
drift northward, reshape the continent, leading to the arid land that we know today. This ancient history of Great Lakes is still etched into the land, even though the lakes themselves have largely
Whoa. No, damn. I never seen that.
disappeared. You see, millions of years ago,
Is that Lake Eyre?
during the Pleistocene epoch, Australia experienced a much cooler and wetter climate. Large inland lakes, rivers, and wetlands dotted the landscape, many of them fed by
Always gotta laugh when you see Alice Springs. So iconic. And for it to show up on a map of just Darwin, Cairns, Brisbane, Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, Adelaide, and Perth, and Alice Springs. Just as notable.
large inland lakes, rivers, and wetlands dotted the landscape, many of them fed by rain and glacial melt from higher elevations. The Lake Eyre Basin, which today is mostly dry, once held a vast amount of water and supported a large variety of huge animals, including large marsupials, giant birds, and reptiles.
So Australia was even more terrifying than it is today.
Lakes such as Lake Eyre, Lake Torrens, Lake Gardner, and Lake Frome, which today appear as large salt flats, were once filled
And the only animals that survived were the ones that could really withstand some heat.
to the brim with fresh water and served as vital habitats for this wildlife and the early human populations
And kangaroos.
that lived along their shores. But as Australia's climate began to shift, becoming warmer and drier over millennia, these lakes gradually shrank and eventually dried up. The continent's slow drift northward moved it away from the cooler, wetter southern latitudes and into a more subtropical position, which is dominated by high-pressure systems that suppress rainfall. In addition, the ice ages that shaped much of the global climate change during this time caused glaciers to retreat, and the meltwater that once fed Australia's lakes dwindled.
Well, you know what I want to know now? I want to know Australia's largest lake that's not dried up. Kati Thanda. Wait. No, that's just another name for Lake Eyre. Lake Argyll in the Kimberley region of Western Australia. And that's a pretty nice lake. It's very beautiful. Let's see. Oh my God. Just Hawaii. Why did it bring me here? I need directions to Lake Argyll, please. There it is. over here in the northwestern Australia, bordering the Northern Territory. That's a pretty big lake. Certainly. Man-made reservoir. I don't know if I count that. Wait, it says it's Western Australia's second largest freshwater reservoir. Natural lake, Lake Alexandria, South Australia. And it's right up against the coast. Oh, but it is freshwater. There we go. That's Australia's largest lake. Right by Adelaide. Well, not man-made lake. I'm zooming in over here like, oh, this would be a nice place to live. Nalpa. It's like one dude. This town is one guy. Here we go. Here's a little town on the coast of the lake. Milang. Shout out to Milang. Let's take a peek at the view. Oh. Oh. Wow. Oh, this reminds me, I need to do that challenge in Australia. People do it on TikTok where they drop a pin in a place. I would do it in Australia, you know. Drop a pin until it's ugly. You know? You keep going to random spots like this. Boom. Until it's ugly. But that's another video, guys. Anyway, that was interesting. That was interesting. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.